Well, hello, pals. Today, we're gonna break into the runes. We did the classes, we did the talents. Now we're doing the runes. Currently, we've got 9 runes. The way that I play the game is very much an in-your-face kind of dodging, trying to dodge everything from point A to point B as much as possible. Especially with like, now that I'm not playing as much BR, I'm playing more Dominion, which for those of you who are, if you're new to Spellbreak or returning for Spellbreak, don't know what Dominion is, it's a 5v5 3-point capture mode. A lot of chaos, a lot of AoE, a lot of wanting to get from point A to point B quickly. So in the game, we have 9 runes, and they all go up in rarity from common, which is going to be white, all the way up to legendary, which is gold, which means there's 5 levels, which is common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary, which is the standard color deviation of white, green, blue, purple, and yellow, orange-ish. So first, we're gonna break this video down into, we're gonna kind of do it on a BR and Dominion kind of thing. If one's better in Dominion, one's better in BR, I'll tell you. One's useless in one, I'll tell you, type of thing. But we're gonna go right into it and go from which ones I personally do not use or don't think are as good now in Chapter 2 as they would have been in Chapter 1, Beta, Alpha, blah, 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 or future. So currently, my very bottom of the list, we're gonna go with Wolf's Blood. Yes, it gives you it's a +4, I do believe. See other players through walls and terrain and increases your run speed by 4. This sounds on paper like a very, very good rune. And it can be. Like, all of these runes you can use and you can use them well. It's just there are other runes in the game that make it so much easier for you in game modes like Dominion, where you have to get from point A to point B quicker. Where you do have this run speed of +4, you can get in Dominion, you can't actually go past +15 run speed. So if you have a build that you get +15, you can't actually use that run speed anyways. Same with Invis, which Invis is going to be my second least favorite one. There are, like I've said about Wolf's Blood, there are ways to make this rune work, specifically with like charging an ice shot or toxicologist's outbreak damage. There are ways to do this, and sneaking up somebody with a stone slam or just sneaking around in general, you can make them work. I just don't tend to like these 2 runes specifically, but become invisible and increases your rune speed by +3. And it's the same thing with Wolf's Blood, is if you've already hit that +15 in Dominion, you don't get that +3 rune speed. So, and now we're getting into more of a movement based, like, yes, those last 2 had movement. Now we're getting more into like a movement strictly based runes. And I'm gonna go with Featherfall for the number 3 worst, which let me read it for you. It says, launch yourself into the air and fall slowly back down. You just basically go up into the air, a little twirl, and you can actually make yourself float and go down faster. It does have animation cancel, so you can shoot one of your gauntlets and you'll fall faster. So if you do animation cancel, you do fall back quicker. It's just really easy to get shot with in that situation. You can make it really, really dangerous if you use things like Frost, where you want to get up in the air and you can shoot people with your Ice Lance, or if you want to track people down as you fall with your Lightning. Just remember that they can do the same thing to you when you're in the air. It's just a dangerous rune to use. It doesn't get you forward anymore. It just goes straight up in the air. And then you come down as well, and it'll do well against like short range gauntlets like fire, toxic, wind, and stone. Wind can still kind of peg you from there, and fire can definitely hit you, and tox can still corrode you at that height. It's just a little bit harder. But remember, ice and lightning are your worst enemy with that, and most players right now have one of the other. So number 6, we're gonna go with Spring Step, and in Chapter 2, it got kind of a momentum dial back. You can't really carry the momentum anymore forward. It used to be one of, if not the best rune in Chapter 1, and now it just isn't quite there. There are ways to kind of manipulate it, but base what it is, Spring Step is not, it's just not what it used to be. That's why it's in the 4th spot. It is really good for stone. It is really good to get out of the way and jump up and jump down, but it's really just like a giant leap. It is a good rune. It's just, you know, there are other things that you can use instead of it. And then number 5, we've got Chronomaster, which if you don't know what the correct one is, it's a little bit confusing to explain, but hopefully they're kind of what they wrote down will kind of help you out with that one. Is after 4 seconds, rewinds you, so you have to activate it first, and then after 4 seconds, rewinds you to your current position where you activated it from, restores your health and armor to their current value from when you activated it, and removes any negative effects like ignite. It basically just rewinds time to right when you started. The reason I'm putting this in the middle, it sounds really good on paper, right? It's really easy to remember where that person popped their chrono, where they started their chrono. So you just focus it and you either blow them up, snipe them, do anything. You do basically more damage to them if you remembered where they were. So in theory, is a very, very good rune. And there are things you can do with it, like you can activate it right before you go through a firewall and Firefly. do some kamikaze stuff, come back, and then you're right behind your firewall, and then you go right back in. There are certain things you can do with Chronomaster. That's why it's not quite at the end. Now, we're going to get into the ones that I kind of have used in the past and use currently, especially in the new game mode Dominion, where you want to get, like I've said multiple times, from point A to point B as quick as possible. So first, we're gonna go with TP, which is teleport, and it's basically exactly what you would assume from teleport. Their definition is teleport to target location after a short delay. So you activate the rune, you'll see like a little pink column, and you'll go to wherever that was. You can play this very well with Toxicologist. You can throw your cloud right as you land, and you go invis out the other side. You can play it very well with like Firefly or really anything else. You just jump onto a spot wherever you TP'd, and you can either freeze whoever you're around, you can stone slam on it. There's a lot of ways to do this. You can also double this up with Rune Fluency. It's a really good rune to use if your main objective in the objective mode of Dominion is to kind of get from point A to point B. It's also really good in BR to just run away. They did just drop its effectiveness a little bit, just so that you couldn't quite run away as much in BR, but you still can get away, heal, get back into the fight, like right in the middle. Which brings me to another one, which is fairly similar, and it's gonna be the flight rune, which, I mean, basically does exactly what you would think. It's a flight rune. Take flight for 5 seconds, interrupted by colliding with something, can be canceled by jumping. I have a feeling that they might have changed. I think they changed the flight duration. You take flight for a rough estimate of 5 seconds, which is what it says on production right now. Interrupted by colliding with something. So if you run into something, you will come out of flight, or you can cancel by jumping. You can also cancel it by firing. It is good from getting from point A to point B. It's also good for going up into the air, firing anything you want to. That's quickly. The only difference here between this and TP, in my opinion, is it takes a little bit longer to get from point A to point B. However, intermingled time is really nice. There's a lot of things you can actually do. You can actually go up into the air. With TP, you can't. You have to actually have like a location to jump it with. Flight's it's a really good one. And it was something that they had a hard time with BR as well. And now we're gonna get into the last two, number 2 and number 1, which you, depending on your build, you could probably just mix match these two. I think these are probably the 2 runes that maybe define Spellbreak a little bit better on the higher end play, more of a competitive sense. And it's gonna be Shadow Step and Dash. My personal opinion is that Dash is better than Shadow Step. I just, for some reason, like using Shadow Step better. Maybe it's the fact that there used to be a rune back in the day called Blink. We're not really gonna get into it, but the way that you use Shadow Step, like the actual fundamental like movement of Shadow Step, is a little bit more like Blink was. It doesn't wiggle like Dash does, but anyways, I'm gonna go with Shadow Step is number 2, which, if you don't know what Shadow Step is become invisible and quickly dash in the direction you're moving. You can also dash in whichever direction that you are holding your keys or your stick. It doesn't have to be whichever movement, like whichever direction you're facing. It can be left, right, backwards, forwards. Dash, when you use it, is fantastic. It can do a lot of crazy movement. It can wiggle whichever way you kind of like swing your mouse. Both of these runes are phenomenal. They are so freaking good. A lot of them also, like, they pair really well with class abilities. So Shadow Step, obviously you have invisible, so you get invisible for like, what is it, like 2 seconds a second, and Toxicologists get that outbreak damage on invisibility, so that obviously pairs very well with that. Dash pairs well with Firewall, because you can do these like super dash firewall things where you bounce off the ground basically. And then Tempest, it's really nice to be able to jump back into your tornado to go back up into it. And there's a lot of things you can do with it in that regard. Both of them do the same basic thing. One just has invisibility and one has more movement. You can wiggle with it, but they both basically do the same thing of burst, like movement. If you just want to get out of somewhere really quickly, you just burst in a direction and you kind of are out of its harm's way. That's a good thing for dodging fireballs, dodging anything really. Frost shots, wind, toxic slaps, stone. It's just a really good dodge mechanic. It's actually so good that a lot of people who come into the game want like a dash built into the character. Would be cool, I guess, but yeah, guys, those are my runes. If you have any other different opinions, or if I missed something that you wanted me to cover, let me know down in the comments. My brain is turning off for some reason at the end of this video. Guys, if you want a different, if you want me to cover a different tier list, let me know. Let Dan know. Let anybody just come check out the stream and tell me there if you like to. Monday through Friday, 10 to 3 right now is what we're going with. But guys, I love you. That's the rune tier list for chapter 2. Have a good day. Peace.
Yo, I'm hungry where them Cheetos at. They stay biting like where them mosquitoes at. I'm on point like an elbow. Hands red like Elmo. My mama said, have you had enough? I looked and I said, no ma'am. I